So welcome back everybody, my name's Andrew and you're watching the Kelley's Country Life. And on today's episode, we're gonna try something a little different on the channel. So instead of a DIY build or something with the house, we're cooking today. So a lot of people are always getting on me saying that all they ever see is my wife cook. But I do cook quite often in the background, and ever since I've got a new smoker, I have been cooking like crazy because it's gotten me so excited. So I can't remember if I've ever smoked a meatloaf before. I don't know that I ever have, so that's something I'm really wanting to try today. So y'all come along with me. I'll let you know if it's good or bad, but I have a couple of ideas in mind on how to make this really taste good, and we're gonna attempt a smoked meatloaf. So for starters, I've already diced up a small bell pepper and about 3/4 of a white onion. So I've got two roughly 1 pound packages of ground venison. By the way, we do our venison very, very lean. So this would compare to like say a 90-10 beef that you get from the store. So typically we make our meatloaf with 1 pound of meat, but we're trying to make this last for several days right here. So we want to make a big helping. Okay, so there's 2 pounds of ground meat in that bowl. Typically we'll do 2 eggs to a meatloaf, but because we're doing extra meat today, I'm gonna go ahead and put 3, maybe 4. These are very small size eggs, straight from some local friends that get their own eggs. All right, so I put 3 eggs in there. Let's start with that. And put some black pepper, and here's where you're gonna hate my cooking. I don't see how much. I just put it in there till it looks right. All right, we'll do some garlic. We absolutely love garlic, so I'm gonna pile it in there. Every meal we cook has some garlic. Put some salt. And roughly about a 1/2 cup to 3/4 cup of breadcrumbs. And last but not least, a friend of ours, a viewer, sent over this Cow Camp pork and poultry. It's a dry rub season, kind of for smoking and barbecuing. Thought this tasted really good, smelled really good. I'm gonna put a little in here and mix up, as well as I'm gonna coat the outside and kind of treat this like a butt or something that I'm smoking. So now all we do is get our hands in there and get dirty. I'm gonna mix this all together, and then I have a small baking dish that I have already sprayed down with some non-stick spray. We're gonna kind of shape this and put it in there. And if this feels too loose or too runny, say with the eggs and other ingredients, you can always just add a little bit more of your breadcrumbs in there. And you can also add celery, all kinds of other stuff. A lot of people make meatloafs differently. Our big flavors that we really like are bell pepper, and onion is a must-have in these. All right, after a good mixing, take this out. We don't use meatloaf pans or anything like that. We just kind of mound it up and shape it in our pan right here. All right, so typically at this point, we would take this meatloaf and stick it straight in the oven as is. Bake it until it's the temperature done that you desire for the inside. Now keep in mind with venison, I mean, if I get to 140, 145, I consider it cooked. But for beef, we do like to run the temperature up a little hotter than that. Now personally, I kind of like my meatloaf a little dry. I don't really like mushy ground meat. So we tend to cook ours a little further than you might would anyways. But we'll put it in the oven straight as is. Cook it down, brown it up, and then like most people do, you put ketchup or barbecue sauce on the top at the end, stick it back in there, brown that up, and then pull it out and serve it. But we're gonna do something a little different today. Let's go get the smoker fired up and pop this in. But before we head out, since we are smoking this, one thing I wanna do that we have never done to a meatloaf before, I wanna put a rub on top. We're going for that smoky kind of barbecue flavor with this anyways. So I think rub's gonna be perfect on here. Okay, so we are about to cook this on my new Masterbuilt Gravity 800. This is a grill smoker combo right here, and I have fell in love with it. I've already done a tremendous amount of cooking on it over the couple of weeks that I've had it. So if you're not familiar with these, it's got a side hopper right in here that you can put lump charcoal, charcoal briquettes, or you can do a mixture of actual wood chunks just like I do. So you get that true smoked wood flavor along with that charcoal flavor that everybody loves. This here's some cherry chunks that I have actually cut off of the property, and then I'll run them through my bandsaw. This is just firewood is all it is, and then I cut it up into some smaller pieces right here to put in my smoker. I'm running through the last of those, and then I'm gonna turn this over and start smoking with some apple wood. Right now I'm running some Masterbuilt lump charcoal. So that's the process. Put a little bit of charcoal, a few chunks of wood, another layer of charcoal, a few chunks of wood until you fill this all up. And this hopper full will smoke for, I smoked for 10 hours the other day, 2 big Boston butts, and still didn't burn it out. It'll probably go 12 plus hours. Okay, so right down here, there is a slide in and out stainless grate. And I'm gonna take one of these Masterbuilt fire starters right here, a small little cube, stick it in there because the charcoal's sitting right on top of this grate. Okay, get that fire starter lit, and I'm gonna let this burn for about, a minute to 2 minutes tops. And when I start seeing smoke coming out the top of this, I know that I've got a couple of those coals lit, and we can close everything up. So I'm gonna let y'all in on a little secret right here. This is the ash pan that I just pulled out the bottom. It's already got a little bit of lump charcoal that's fell down in it from the last cook. I just hit this real quick with a butane torch to get those lit back and going. And then I'll go ahead and throw my wood chunks in here, and you start getting an instant smoke. I don't see anybody doing this. You'll see a lot of people just throw wood chunks down in here and then depend on ash falling in it later in the cook to ignite them. I have had 0 success with that technique. But if you'll go ahead and get you some charcoals lit in here like this, you start smoking right away. So here we go. A few of those are already in there lit and going. That's all I need, just reusing the last charcoal. You can see I got flames coming out the side there, so my fire starter is going. I'm ready to close this up. Now what I'll do is just take a couple chunks of this cherry, put right down in here in this ash pan on top of those coals that are already lit and going. And using this technique, I'm about to start instantly making smoke, because depending on where the chunks are in this hopper, it may take a few minutes before I light those pieces as well. But now I'm gonna get double the smoke. This is just like a pellet grill. It has a controlled fan that blows through that chamber that I just showed you where the ash hopper is, blows across the bottom of the charcoal, and then puts that heat, that smoke, and that charcoal flavor in this chamber right here. Man, I think this is a step above a pellet grill in my mind. And just that quick, you can hear the fans kicking on now. Look at the smoke bellowing into this chamber. So we'll close this off. I'm gonna put this at 225. That's how I'm gonna smoke my meatloaf for at least a couple hours. I wanna get that good smoky flavor into them and that charcoal flavor. And then I may loosely wrap the top, run it on up once I know we're getting ready to eat until I see a good internal temperature. By the way, this has where I can hook up to 4 meat probes to this over here and monitor 4 different things in there. All right, y'all, so I've had this going for 3 hours on the smoker, and I actually ran it down to 200 degrees because I just wanted to get a lot of smoke in this. And so far, this thing is looking awesome. It's starting to look like one piece of meat now. Now, I'm noticing the outside edge is starting to get a bit dry, and that's expected. Smoking uncovered for 3 hours. I should have plenty of smoke in there and bark going on. So I'm gonna put some tinfoil over this. Still got about 15 to 20 degrees to go. But I think if I wrap it in full, bump the heat up just a little, that'll actually keep everything nice and moist as far as the outside goes. Probably run that temperature on up to 275, 300 and just kind of finish it off right now. All right, so we're pretty much up to temp here. I'm gonna take this probe out, but we always like a barbecue crust on top. All right, so what I'm gonna do is spread this barbecue sauce out. I'm gonna run this on up, maybe 300, 350. I just wanna get this to caramelize. And we'll call this ready to go. Okay, so here we are with the finished product. Man, oh man, does it smell good. Got a lot of bark on it. But the question is, did we cook it right? So I'm gonna cut off an end cap that has a, crunchy, crusty end and outside, but that also give us a nice look on the inside. Again, I told you I like to cook mine a little longer. I can't stand mushy ground meat, and I like my meatloaf to be a little more firm on the inside. So what I did was I cooked this about 3 hours at 200 just to get a lot of smoke into it. Put tinfoil over it because the outside was starting to get a little dry. That moistened it right up. Once this got up to about 155 degrees, which is quite a bit for venison, but not quite where you want to be with ground beef, that's up to you. I pulled the tinfoil off, layered the barbecue sauce on it, ran it on up to, it was, I believe 300, 325, just to kind of get this to caramelize and stick on it. So let's cut this end here. Wow, it's actually got a nice crunchy sound on the outside. Put this whole cap on the plate right here. Okay, so there is the crispy outside with the barbecue sauce that just glazed over on it. And here's the good part. Look at the top edge. You can actually see a smoke ring in this meat. That's what I'm really hoping to taste by doing this on the smoker like that. So without further ado, let's try this first ever smoked meatloaf. Oh, that looks so good. Sorry for eating in front of y'all. Let's get another bite. I think it tastes great. Actually, I wouldn't mind even a little more smoking it, but I can definitely taste the smoke. The barbecue rub that I put on the outside actually got a little bit of a bite to it. The peppers, the onions, it all tastes so good. And what I'm so happy with is I kind of took a wild guess at cooking this, and the inside has that nice firm texture that I'm looking for. All right, so I would call that a success. I'm definitely going to do this again. I really like the way it turned out. I'm going to play with some of the smoke profiles and flavors on my next cook. Hopefully you enjoyed this. We'll catch y'all in the next video.